Welcome to this week's episode of Inside the Headset presented by CoachComm. This week, we sit down with Jacksonville State Safeties coach Brandon Napoleon. In this conversation, Coach Napoleon discusses how he broke into the profession, the lessons he learned as a young coach, and how he works to take advantage of every opportunity that he is given. But first, a word from CoachComm.
Deuce left, check with me. If they're in quarters match, we're going to Pittsburgh or Ohio.
They're in zero.
Let's go Hippo, Seattle, wide choice. If we call the protection right, it's 6.
When a play call is the difference between winning and losing, your headset choice could be your most important decision. When the call counts, CoachComm is the only choice for clear, dependable communication. Visit CoachComm.com for more info.
We got it, guys. Good job.
Now, let's get inside the headset with Coach Napoleon.
Coach, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm blessed right now, man. You know, middle of the season on the bye week, so can't complain.
Good, man. Well, I know it's fun. Obviously, your first year there at Jacksonville State, and just exciting. You guys are rocking and rolling pretty well, and you're just hoping to finish strong, I'm sure, right?
Oh yeah, you know, we won the last 3. We started off rough 0-3, but we're in conference play 2-0 in conference. Got a good roll on. The offense is doing great, so hoping to keep it going.
That's right. There's no momentum like momentum, man. So keep that momentum rolling, brother. But yeah, man, let's kind of go ahead and dive into this thing. Obviously the first question we always like to start the podcast off with is, what was that moment that you knew you wanted to be a part of this great profession?
Probably in Pop Warner. My first coach was my dad, played running back, and he taught me everything I knew about the game. And obviously he played football and got his chance to go to West Virginia. So just seeing him being my dad and also being my coach and seeing how he could switch from father figure to, give you the tough love on the field and coach you hard, it just gave me, the perspective of helping others in life and not just worrying about myself. And then when I got to college in West Virginia, just seeing the way recruiting worked, I was like, yeah, I definitely want to be, a genuine recruiter. I want to be a genuine coach. I want to be able to, impact other people's lives. So definitely started at an early age of Pop Warner.
That's awesome, man. Especially we can kind of go through early on and know that you want to be a part of a great profession as you interact with your high school coaches. And, with you, as we're going to talk about here in a second, you had some multiple coaches that you played for at the collegiate level. And it's always some takeaways as far as if you want to be in a profession, you can look and say, man, I like that, or, hey, I don't like that. This might not necessarily be my coaching style, but you're able to kind of navigate and garner a lot of knowledge. Now, I mentioned you made some transfers, so you played at multiple universities at the collegiate level. Probably the more interesting thing, it's man, you were Virginia, Iowa. I don't know exactly where Georgetown College is.
Kentucky.
In Kentucky, and then you finished up there at Kansas Wesleyan. So, you were a little bit in that nomadic lifestyle as a player, where most people don't really realize that until you get into the coaching profession. How, having that experience as a young player, twofold question, how did it prepare you for that nomadic lifestyle of a coach where you're just bouncing around all the places that we're going to get to as we get into your coaching career? And then number 2, how did that help you out, at least from a networking standpoint, being able to have some contacts at some different schools as you're trying to break into the profession?
Right. Well, first things first, going from different school to school was definitely just faith in God. Like, some people talk about transfer, things like that. At West Virginia, I was contemplating always, but like you said, just meeting different coaches. Like I went to Kansas Wesleyan, and my head coach is Matt Drinkle, and now Matt Drinkle's at Army. I went to West Virginia. Obviously, Dana Hogerson. You got a teammate in DeKeel Shorts, who's now the receivers coach at Kentucky. You got different sprouts like you got KJ Dillon, who's now the corners coach at EKU. You go to Georgetown, it's everywhere. You got Coach Maskell at Midwestern State. I was about to go there. He was recruiting me. I ended up coaching with him. That's a separate story. So even being recruiting, going through the portal process before the portal was even a thing, right, talking to those coaches again, everything like that, it definitely propels you when you decide to become a coach, because now they're looking at you as the young man you were as a player or being recruited by them to now they can see you mature and how you grow through your different walks of life. And it's definitely, like I said, the nomadic lifestyle. I'm not scared to go anywhere. The only place I haven't been is to the West Coast. But, before then, I'm a kid from New Jersey, never left New Jersey. But, like you said, like it's just having faith. And now like I said, living this lifestyle now. My wife's not used to it, but now she's with it. So ever since my first coaching job, she's traveled with me everywhere. From my stepdaughter and now my newborn son, 3-year-old son, they've been with me every stop of the way. And it was a grind for them too. People don't know coaches' wives go through the worst. It's just because we're not home and they don't know when they have to pick up and leave. And we're not the ones packing the house and doing all that. We're still at work. That's them packing the house. So really, for me, it definitely helped me now with that lifestyle. But now it's just transitioning my family into that lifestyle as well.
Absolutely, man. And I was kind of telling you beforehand, from a personal standpoint, I transferred as well, and ultimately ended up being huge for my coaching career. And honestly, lands me here at the AFCA. I played in the Army under Coach Todd Berry. Ended up coaching for him down the road, and then he takes over as executive director here prior to his retirement last year. And then I played for Kyle Morris. He gave me my first collegiate job, and so just being able to have those connections and some of those guys that I played for, not necessarily played for, might have been on the other side of the ball. It was huge for me. And then to broach this topic just slightly, man, because obviously this podcast is for coaches, but hot topic is that transfer portal. One of the things that sometimes grinds my gears a little bit is we beat up players for transferring. And, I feel like I had a great reason to transfer. Wasn't scared of competition. I played a ton as a true freshman, was happy with my position. It just wasn't a place for me. I was too far away from home, yada, yada, yada. I had my list of reasons. As you were kind of navigating and making, decisions in terms of where you wanted to play next, what were some of the things that you were considering? And now when you're dealing with kids wanting to leave your program or potentially wanting to come to your program from other places, what does that personal experience give you perspective for?
Well, the West Virginia experience was, just down on myself. I played as a redshirt freshman special teams, was hoping to come in as a redshirt sophomore and do some big things, tore my MCL, then I had to sit out that year. And, you're contemplating different things like, they just brought in this guy. Right. Am I going to play when I get back from my injury? Then they switch my position from boundary corner to field corner. And sometimes guys don't know. Coaches know, like, that's a big transition. You go from boundary corner, you're fitting things, doing different things to go cover in the field. So that whole thing was I wanted to make sure I had a chance to play somewhere immediately. So my thought process was, I'm not going to go to another Power 5. I'd rather go to a very strong conference in a very good program that knows, that they have transfer portal guys that are successful there already. So I ended up going to Northern Iowa. Getting there, you go in there, you have a mindset of I'm a Power 5 guy. I should be able to play right away. Yeah. And then you figure out they have DeAndre Hall and Mac Durley, 2 NFL guys. Right. So, I had to wait my turn there. And ultimately, the reason I got into coaching is to, help these young men out on choices they make and whatever choices they make can affect their future. So a choice was made, and I didn't get any legal trouble, anything crazy, but I did get dismissed from the team, which made me have to transfer again. At that time, my clock ran out. So for NCAA, what people don't know is NAIA has some good football. So I went down to Georgetown in Kentucky. It was all conference there. It was, doing my thing, was a captain. And, that choice of leaving Georgetown was just to get, like you said, a broader aspect of life. Like I was like, okay, I'm in Kentucky. I'm from New Jersey. This right here is not really matching up. So I wanted to go somewhere else where it was like I said, another good competition. And Coach Drinkle at Kansas Wesleyan, there was a young staff. So I went over there with Coach Drinkle. And he not promised you a starting spot, but if you work hard, you have the athletic ability, you can start here. So it was always about progressing in playing time and honestly not being scared to, get talked about, you were Power 5 to NAI. At the end of the day, I tell guys I still have my degree, I still got a chance to have a great football career, still got a chance to do everything that everybody else wanted to do. And not many people can play college football at the end of the day. So the transfer portal for me, or the portal before it was the portal, was always progressively trying to get on the field and play at the highest level at that time of any league, NAI, NCAA, FCS.
That's awesome, man. Well, obviously you finish up your playing career, you get your degree, and just the hardest part of this whole profession thing is the hardest part. I would actually say about the transition thing, not the profession, but the transition is you get done playing ball. What next, right? It's your last game. You're sitting there in the spring semester trying to say, like, life is coming. Like, what do I do next? What was your steps prior to getting your first job?
Well, steps were I played a little IFL, because my whole thing was I'm going to give this thing a shot for a year. I'm not going to chase a dream because I knew I wanted to coach. So I did the IFL thing. I played in one game, got a little XFL tryout, didn't make it, and I was like, I'm done. So I went into selling insurance with one of my good friends, Jared Harper. He was my roommate in Philadelphia. Made a little money there, trying to find myself, salesman. I was like, this is not for me. And I made a couple calls to some coaches that I, got coached by, one of the relationships that I did cultivate, and they ended up giving me a job at Susquehanna University, as a restricted earnings. Not many people are going to take that job for $7,500 a year, so not many people were calling for that job. I was like, I'll take it, I'll do it, and I'll sacrifice anything to go be a coach and get into that. So it went from life insurance for about 3-4 months to straight into I need to go coach. And like I said, God has good faith, and I was able to get that job, and that propelled my career.
Yeah. It's funny. You look back on, especially probably in the position you are now, you look back on that job, it's like $7,500. Man, how did I make it? But you think back, not even think back, you put yourself back in those shoes at that time, how excited you probably were to get that first collegiate coaching job. And, at that point, the money didn't even really matter. It was just about kicking through the door. Now, just a little bit about how you actually kicked through the door. You made the call, said, hey, look, man, I'm trying to get into the profession. Was it as easy as, hey, cool, man, we got this, this opportunity for you, come on in? Or did you have to do any type of, come over and talk? Did you have to interview? Did you have to do any of that? How did that, actually go down?
So I called one of my mentors. He said, go on to football school. Went on the football school. So Susquehanna had a job opening for restricted earnings. I called my mentor back. He made a call to one of the DB coaches, AZ. He's actually at Penn State right now. And after that, they said, come up, drove up there with my wife. I'm 1 for 1. I brought my wife to one interview. I got the job. So I drove there with my wife. It was a long day, just interviewing on the board, interviewing on the video, then going out to lunch, making sure you gelled all the guys on the staff. And after that, I got hired the next day. They called me back and hired me the next day. And then I was, like you said, rolling from there. Didn't really care. I didn't know where I was staying at first. Didn't know anything. Didn't know when the paycheck was coming. I didn't care.
Right.
Like I said, I got my chance to coach. My wife stayed behind. At the time, she was my girlfriend. She stayed behind. I went up there to live in the restricting earnings house of coaches.
Yeah.
That's how that got started. It was really, football school saves lives.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's very similar to my D3 job that I had. It was a restricted earnings. It was on the scoop, and I drove down. It was my first actual, it might have been my first real interview period. Both my high school job and my first college job was through somebody I knew. And I didn't know what to expect when I walked in there from an interview standpoint. But my advantage versus your story is that I had coached for a couple years prior to. When you walk in there and you're in your first interview, especially for these guys that are listening on this podcast that hadn't quite experienced one of these college interviews, or even a high school one for that matter, where it's extended, it's a long day, you on the board, you better know what you're talking about to a certain extent. How did you approach it, not having coached before, not having a drill list or all this kind of stuff? What did you do to make sure you did a good job?
Well, like I said, I had a mentor, Brandon Lynch. He's the cornerbacks coach at the Cleveland Browns. He actually coached me at Northern Iowa, recruited me. He taught me everything within a span of 2 weeks, like what to look for, what questions to ask. And like you said, I had a drill tape, and it was his drill tape. He sent me his drill tape from when I was at Northern Iowa, so I could show the drills that we would do. Not really me doing it, but my coach coaching me through it. And I'm showing them on film that, yeah, that's me. I can coach it the same way. This is my mentor. But also the biggest thing is for young coaches is recruiting. I was pitching that I can recruit anybody, anywhere, and get them in the building and change this roster around. So that was the biggest thing. It was really, like I said, having a mentor to back me up and have my back. If I didn't have that, I was really articulate and I could talk, a communications major. So me just talking on the board and knowing how to draw on the board, that's the biggest thing that some young coaches, even myself, they look at that. Like, I look at that when we interview guys here. You draw on the board, how detailed are you with your drawings, make sure you're not slanting. So I was practicing that stuff all the time on the whiteboard, drawing, making sure I know the formations, just the base of football. Because at the end of the day, it is a restricting earnings job. They're not expecting you to come in and be, Nick Saban right now. They're expecting you to learn and grow. So just having a base of like formation recognition, 12, 10 personnel, and really showing that you'll do any job in the building is really what gets you in the door. And then after you get in the door, like you said, how you going to kick through it?
Now it's funny you kind of in my deal they're pretty good because I did the interview and I ended up getting a job. And Aaron Pelch, who's now I think the AD there at Millsaps College, at the place I interviewed at, he looks at me and says, "Oh, I knew I was going to hire you when I saw you draw your first circle. As long as it wasn't a big old ugly circle, like I was kind of good. We're coaching on everything else, and it's crazy because I mean, it sounds funny, if anybody else in any other industry heard how you draw on the board was really going to dictate how you get the job, they kind of be like, that don't really make much sense. But it is important how you're going to present that information to those athletes. So that's good that you had mastered that. Now, you get the job, right? And so now, like you said, you're just flying by the seat of your pants a little bit in the first little bit of it. But I would assume pretty quickly you got athletes, you have a room, you got people that are looking at you for answers. You have responsibilities. How did you adjust to that college coaching lifestyle, which is far different from the college player lifestyle?
I attacked it like I was a college player. So I was 5 a.m. in the building, and I'm learning. I was always calling people, that's how I got my connections now. I was calling people. I wasn't scared to reach out to the biggest coach, that biggest coach name or the best DB coach I thought, and get information. So I really felt like I was over-prepared for the job because while other people were sleeping or other people weren't trying to get knowledge from others, I was trying to get knowledge and trial and error. Like you said, I got athletes in the building. So I had one of the best corners in the country before I even got there. I didn't recruit the kid. Probably just sharpened up his tools a little bit, but he was all-consensus All-American first team by the time I left there. And that was just, like I said, trial and error with him, doing different techniques that people seem like, what is that? Just trying to do different things within what other people are giving you. If somebody says, "Oh, let's press bail and snake on top of the route," I was press bail and snake on top of the route, but doing it in a different style. So just it gave me the ability to feel confident in myself the whole year, just by, like I said, reaching out, trying to gain knowledge and being a sponge. And also, like I said, it was just really trying to outwork everybody in that building and showing the head coach there that you don't need recommendations. That's what some coaches don't understand as well. Like you go to a school, you don't work hard, you don't coach your guys hard, somebody's going to call, or you're going to have a recommendation from that school, and they're not going to be able to vouch for you. So I just try to do a good job doing everything I can around in the office to, stand out to those guys so they could make a call for me, or if somebody did call, they can vouch for me.
Yeah. So
football-wise, just learning, soaking up knowledge as a sponge, and then office-wise, just really busting my tail, making sure there was everything done that needed to be done. Even if it was on the offensive side, I'm trying to do things for the head coach and use the offensive coordinator, helping him out as well.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And that's, obviously great advice in terms of how to execute that, right? You talked about reaching out to some mentors, reaching out to people you didn't know, just shooting your shot, seeing what information that you could get. How receptive were people to that? I remember being a young coach. I remember getting that same advice and being like, man, hey, this coach don't want to hear from me. I'm a little old Mario Price. He don't want to hear from me. Like, and not that I lack confidence, but it was just like, man, he's too busy for me. How receptive were those coaches you reached out to?
Some of you still get left on red to this day. You can see it says "seen," right? So, those are. I just took it as, like I said, from Jersey, got tough stuff. Like, he probably busy.
Yeah.
But I was blessed enough, like I said, coming out of high school to be a 3-star and get recruited by a lot of these guys who were still coaching at the time. So I was able to reach out to them first, connect with them, and then try to I was a salesman. So like I said, hey, I know this guy over here. I'm trying to learn from their scheme as well. Yeah. We do some of the sort of same things. So they was able to connect me, most of the times through their connections. But mainly, like I said, if I got left on red, it was what it was. I didn't take it. I took it to the chin. Yeah. I try right now as a coach. If a college coach hits me up from any level, or whatever, I try to respond for sure every time, because like I said, you get put on scene. Some people don't take it the same way you would. So I try right now. Like if anybody hits me up, I try to hit them back. How the DMs are. They get flooded sometimes, but. Sometimes you just have to have tough skin, and sometimes the guys who you don't expect to hit you back, like Van Malone, he hit me back when I was at D3. And, he's a great guy. He's a good person. Yeah. So you got people like that, and they want to help anybody because they was in your shoes as well.
Yeah, and that's good, man. That's good that you can take that experience and not necessarily be bitter about it. I mean, because it's hard not to in some facets, but not be bitter about it and just say, hey, you know what? When I'm in position for people to hit me up and will have questions for me, I'm always going to kind of be receptive, and that's huge, man, and that's important for our industry and keeping the growth of the game going. Now, I've asked you some questions. You were prepared. You took care of business. Now, give me the real here. When you look back now at 2024, Coach Napoleon, and you look back at what year was this? 2019, Coach Napoleon. What was one of those things you look back and say, man, I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't do this as good, or maybe something in that time that you weren't quite prepared for, and it took you some time to kind of get used to.
I used to still dress like a player. I'll say that.
Okay.
And that was one of the things my mentor told me when I was still 2019. I'm like, man, I don't need nothing. But he always say, dress like you're the head coach, like dress like you want the job. So instead of wearing slacks in the office and things of that nature, I was wearing sweats and Jordans. And, sometimes, we'd be real. I used to have my do-rag on under my hat to keep my waves tight. But as you grow on, you're like, that don't mean anything. It's your appearance. So now I get a haircut once a week. If I don't have a haircut, I'm wearing a hat, I got a polo on. So I just think that was a big thing, like how I was dressing. If I would know what I know now, I probably wouldn't wear slacks at the D3, but I probably wear nice little, khakis and nice, shoes and the Jordans. But that was a big thing. And my coach would say it all the time, like, you dress like a player. And at the time, he was laughing and joking, like laughing with me, but deep down, he's probably like, I can't promote this guy because at least he don't got that part down, his appearance.
Yeah.
So I would definitely change that, for sure.
Man, that's awesome, man. That's I've heard a lot of answers. I don't know if I've ever heard that one. Especially as a young guy, man. It's easy to throw those old sweats on and just roll, man. And it is one of those kind of easy things to fix and easy things that really changes the perception of how you perceive by players and coaches, and athletic administration along those lines. So after these first couple of years there, in that role, you spent a brief stint there at Midwestern State as a defensive GA. How did that opportunity arise? And as quickly as it arose, just to put your answer all in one piece, it actually ended. So just talk about that stint there, how it came, how it left.
Right. So right after Susquehanna, I went right down to the convention. And like I said, football scoop, I saw Midwestern State had a GA job opening. It was like the same amount of money, $7,500. But almost like my playing career, it was a step up. It was D2, a good conference, and I wanted to attack it. So I emailed Coach Renner and had my interview down there. I had an interview with him. I had an interview with the corners coach, and I had an interview with the head coach. And they offered me the job there at the convention. And if anybody knows Coach Maskell, he's very demanding. He was like, I need you in Texas in 2 days, right after the convention. And I turned it down. So I turned down that job at that time. And I stayed at Susquehanna for the whole spring. D3 don't have spring ball, so they was just lifting and doing things of that nature. And I was getting my stuff ready for the next available opportunity. And that GA who took the job in the Western, he was gone within like 3 months. And that job came open again. They called me back, and I actually took the job that time because I had time to, get my stuff together. I wasn't just coming from a plane to go take another plane to go to another school. So I took that job, and at that time it was COVID, like right in the middle of COVID where everything was extinguished and things were shut down. So we really didn't have football at the time. We was just meeting. I was grinding, learning ball because that's a great staff. It was a great staff. Coach Maskell was a legend of a coach. So just learning from him, seeing how he runs his meetings. A lot of controversy going on in the world at that time too. It was George Floyd. There was a lot of things going on, but I was seeing how to handle things as a coach and how to handle a team in a controversial time in the world. And it was actually cool to see. But like you said, I was there for about 2 or 3 months. My girlfriend at the time, which ended up being my wife, got pregnant. And at that time, I can't make $7,500 with no benefits, going to school. And like I said, Coach Maskell, he's a grinder, so he's grinding. So I ended up, reaching out to Geneva College, which is the D3 in a different conference in Susquehanna. Once again, I think it was a little bit of a better conference, but at the end of the day, it was $30,000, and I was the full DB's coach.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that the head coach at Geneva College was my dad's GA when he was at West Virginia.
Okay.
So that was my dad's connection. And it just so happened that it was a blessing. I got a chance to go over there. But that ended my stint at Midwestern State quick. Like I said, I'm all about family. Like, I would walk off the field if my wife called me and something was wrong. I'm going home.
Yeah,
so,
for sure, man.
Like that's always gonna matter first. So once I found out she got pregnant, went to the first doctor's visit, everything was good. I had to make more money, but I also wanted to stay in the coaching profession for sure. So by any means, any school that was offering anything, I was going to be able to go.
So that leaves me with two questions, man. The first one, and this one's important to me, especially as I've been able to get in this role and give advice when the guys hit me up. But you interviewed for the job at the convention, prior to taking it. You interviewed for the job at the convention, did well, got offered it to you, but I need you there in 2 days. And you looked the guy in the face, and it might not have been this dramatic, but you said, "Hey, I can't take it. I can't do this." What? I understand the reason you explained. Pretty much, it was just too fast of a turnaround just to make that switch. But like, what's going on in your head as you're like getting a really good opportunity? Midwestern State is a phenomenal program, phenomenal coaches that kind of go through there and continue on in the profession and go there and stay there and do well. What made you say no?
Really, at the time, like I said, I was a young coach, and I didn't know that's how the game worked.
Yeah,
like that fast. Right now, obviously, if it was a different opportunity, like let's say somebody called a convention and it was like, "I need you there tomorrow," I would go. But I was a young coach. I didn't know that's how it worked. I'm like, "Is he trying to pull a fast one on me?" Like, when I was supposed to get on the plane and just go. So in my head, there was some thoughts. I'm like, well, "This is fast. Like, I'm not that good of a coach. Like, why is he doing this? This might be a scam. Like, it's too good to be true."
Right.
In 2019, 2020, that's how I was thinking. Like I said, they came back around. God with faith, they came back around, and now I had time to think about it because the dude who did take the job, he got a better job. You know what I mean? So like it was like you said, the GA thing that happens at Midwestern State, they go on to do the great things. So at the time though, I was like, "This is a scam. This can't be. It's too good to be true." So that was the immature coaching.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, that's good. I appreciate you sharing that. Even if you look back on it, maybe it's not your finest moment, but that's huge because a lot of coaches, they go through different things in their career. And honestly, hopefully we're giving a platform for, that coach that gets put in a similar situation. He can be like, "Man, I remember that dude from Jax State. I can't remember his name. He said the same thing. Yeah, I take the job and I'll be there in 2 days, and maybe that helps a guy out." Now on the back end of the whole deal, right? Wife's pregnant, and I 100% respect that, right? You got family first, man. I mean, this is a profession that can really, really, push you to the edge on having to make that decision at a lot of times, and the people that can stand up and say, "Hey, man, look, I got to do right by my family." I mean, I think honestly they have the longevity in the profession because they do make it about family. But anywho, that situation arises. You walk in there. What do you say to that? What do you say to your coach? You just got there. He's on his second GA. He's made 2 hires. Obviously, counting on you to be there. How does that conversation go?
The DB coach was cool with it. He was like, "You just got to talk to the DC and the head coach because those are, old school guys." So I went to go talk to Coach Renner, and he prayed with me, and we actually cried together because we built a bond during that time. Like I said, it was a controversial time, so we got a chance to know each other very deeply, deeper in football. So he prayed over me, prayed over the baby, prayed over my wife, and said, "I respect your decision." It was magical, same thing, not the prayer. But he was the same way. He was like, "I understand what you're doing." Because, sometimes, like you said, you bounce around to different schools, but the reason is, money or the logo. Mine was significantly, my wife is pregnant, and I need to be there for my family. And also, she's from Pennsylvania. Geneva's in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
It's matched up.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make much sense to be far away from home and broke. maybe you can have one or the other, but right. But if you can have both, that's ideal. So that worked out for you there. So you get the job there, and now you're the pass game coordinator, you're the co-DC, and really, no offense when I say that you had not coached a ton. I mean, you hadn't even had your own full-time kind of position or role there, but now you're responsible of a lot of what's going on the back end at Geneva College. Introducing a youngster into the world at this point in time. A lot's going on in this situation. Just talk to me a little bit about that year. You know what I'm saying? That time frame, just being there, especially in the middle of COVID. I mean, it's a lot going on, man. How was that year for you?
It was actually great. I had great help. I was able to hire a good GA within Devon Brown, and he's actually the DB's coach at West Kentucky right now. So I was able to hire him, and we ran a 3-3-5 system. So the 3 high safeties in the corners, that's my room. I was able to branch off and be able to focus on the corners and the middle safety while I let Coach Brown help out and work with the safeties primarily. But the key was, like, I was so prepared because of just talking to people over the years. Remember that COVID year when I was at Midwestern, that was a big Zoom clinic year when Dominique Bowman was Zooming. And so I was learning, taking notes. My notebook was big. Yeah. So the reason I was able to get a pass game coordinator, all those titles and things of that nature was because of my interview. It was a phone interview, and we were just talking scheme, me and Coach DeMarco, and was just ripping it off, ball. Just talking ball with him, and it all made sense. And you just got to make things simple for the kids. So that whole year, it was still COVID. We only played a spring schedule, which was kind of weird. Yeah. And we ended up upsetting Grove City and having some good success in the back end, going from being last in the country, like 100 and something in D3 passing yards to 23rd in the country. Able to have some success, some all-conference guys, but the biggest thing was having help, good help, like what I said with Coach Brown, and being able to simplify the scheme for the guys. And being a younger coach was a chance for them to gravitate towards me and wanting to play for me, if that makes sense. And Coach Brown was only like 24 years old at the time. Yeah. So really him as well. We had energy, running around the field, and, having fun with those guys and taking that opportunity, and not put too much pressure on myself. Like you said, this is my first full-time job. I can't mess up. It's like trial and error still. We're having fun out here. We have energy and putting cleats on, running around. I'm sprinting around the field, but that cultivated a room and like I said, relationship with my players where they're like, Coach Knapp he's real. Like, obviously you're going to get on him sometimes, but when you're not getting on him, you're praising them up at the highest manner, but you're also coaching them. So that really taught me, like, it's really not about what level you're at, because this D3 ball is in Geneva. It's different up there, right? They don't have the best athletes, but it's about how they want to play for you, how to respond to you. And if they love you, they're going to play for you. Just quickly jumping forward here, one of my players that I coach at Geneva is actually sitting over here on the side of me. He's my GA right now. Oh, that's awesome. So, like, that's how that works. Like, relationships, like you said, he was able to cultivate, like, if I was not able to be blessed enough to go to Geneva College, I would have never met Coach Roser, and he would have never been able to be my GA. So, like, that's the way I think the universe works. It's great.
Yeah, man, that's great stuff, man. Now, I do want to ask, obviously when you got that first job, your first gig at a restricted earnings, you talked about how you hit up all these guys and just start garnering this knowledge about defensive back play, corner play, probably a little bit more specifically, but you just start learning the game. Now all of a sudden you're this co-DC. How do you personally start learning, about beyond that? Because a lot of times it's hard for those DB guys to get very, very entertained about what's going on with the D-line and vice versa, and receivers with O-line and O-line and vice versa. How did you start putting yourself in position, just to understand the front seven?
Well, that was year 2 of really coaching. I didn't really have no involvement with that. Mine was more the back end, like you said, but just sitting there and taking notes and listening to your D-line coach and to the other co-DC who was linebackers coach, and listening to what's going on, gap exchange, and things of that nature. And then, like I said, I wasn't just a sponge in the back end. If I had a question about a front or what something, I'm calling somebody, and we're going to talk about it on that end too. And even after the office hours, just sitting down with the guys and just talking ball, like you said, power. I'm a DB guy. I'm a corner at heart, so talking power and talking counter. I'm like, who pulling? Where they going to? But now you're starting to learn that. Yeah. It does take your DB coaching to the next level, because if you coach safeties, you have to know the front. Absolutely. You have to know where the blitzes are hitting. You have to know what gap you have. You have to know if it's split zone, it creates another gap to the side. So as I'm learning in the office, I'm also like, I'm not having any input when it comes to the run game at Geneva College. I'll say that right now. But when it came to the pass game, that was on me, because obviously linebacker coach fed off of what me and Coach Brown was saying. But I was just really, like I said, being a sponge, learning, sitting down, And if I had a question, calling somebody outside and also sitting down with your staff that should know what's going on and learning from them as well. No questions are dumb questions. I still do it to this day here. If I have a question, I'm asking to raise my hand, like, what you say? And we're going to talk about it, and I'm going to learn and take notes.
Right.
I'm never too good to grow. I think none of us are.
That's right, man. That's right. Well, 2020, once again, was an interesting year. I think a little bit of your Midwestern stint bleeds into 2020, and then, I got that right. And then you have the spring season, and then you actually, after that's over, you take another job. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so you end up at Kutztown College, Kutztown University, excuse me, Kutztown University. So how does the two transition? How does that work? How do you end that one stop and then enter the next?
Well, that's funny. People think that was a full-time job. That was a restricted earnings, and that was for my family. My wife, like you said, you have a newborn. Kutztown was only 50 minutes away from where my wife is from, so it was $8,500. So you've taken a drastic drop, and we stayed with her mom, and I drove 50 minutes every day up there. And that's if people look at my resume, I don't put Midwest on there, and I'll put Kutztown on there just because the stints are so short. I think that was probably a month. I was probably at Kutztown for 1 month.
Okay.
And like I said, that was for my family. It wasn't, but it also still made sense in the scheme of that was PSAC, that was D2. They were rolling, they were really good. So I was able to still level up, but the pay was knocked down, which is fine. It's never about the pay, but I was able to still coach my own room, essentially at the corners, do my own techniques. I was just there for like maybe 2 summer camps, prospect camps, and then obviously it was the decision to either stay there or go up to Buffalo and be a GA.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a hard decision to make,
Yeah, absolutely. And I, once again, like I know we did kind of find some of these things because some places that doesn't even show that you were at Kutztown, but I think it's great, especially on this, at least on this platform, you're able to talk about that, man. I mean, because like you said, you want to make more money, you want a better situation, you want a better room, you want a better logo on your shirt, whatever it is, whatever your motivation is as a coach, and everybody's different and nobody's wrong, in my opinion, as long as you're being right by the kids and, being right by the people that you're working with and working for. But sometimes you have to make a decision that's 100% selfish, it's about my family, it's about this or that, and there's nothing wrong with that, man. So I'm happy you were able to kind of shed some light on that. So the GA opportunity, right? Clearly, we're in the summer time frame. How does this come about, and how do you end up attacking it and getting on it so quickly?
Well, that was Coach Mo Ling's first year at Buffalo. He had a quick turnaround. I think he got hired in June.
Yeah.
So he was still building his staff. And at the time, I didn't really know, this is the great thing of hitting people up. I didn't really know DeAndre Thompson like that, but I did hit him up when he was at Campbell to learn different techniques and talk to him and get on Zoom with him and talk ball. So when he got the corners job there, I hit him up and I congratulated him. And he said he had a safety GA job open under Coach Rod Ojon, who's now the corners coach of Indiana. So the only questions they had for me, and I don't think they noticed to this day, but they're going to find out. The only question they had was, do you know how to use Visio? I was like, yeah. I ain't never used Visio in my life. So I lied, but it got me the job. And I had to use my mentor's Visio documents and send it to them. And I was like, yeah, this is my stuff. So it got me in the door. And The first day I got there, it was a funny story. First day I got there, Coach Mo was a workhorse. So we had player ran practice. I had to draw on Visio, I had to draw little stencils. I didn't know how to do it. So Coach Ojon just came from Georgia. He's like, oh, what you doing? Like, I need these now, 15 minutes. Took me 2 hours. And he was like, you don't know how to use Visio, do you? I was like, yeah, I know how to use Visio. I'm just rusty. That was my first time getting dealt with as a coach.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, okay, now I understand what coaching is. It's not just going on the field and executing plays and being able to coach a recruit. You better do some office work and draw on Visio. So I ain't never did that. But by the middle of the year, because it's expensive. By the middle of the year, early part of the year, I was good with it. But they found out quickly, like, oh, this man lied. Gotta get in the door.
I gotta make a compilation of the podcast of just the funny stories. That's gonna be on the top 10 for sure. I don't know if I heard that one before, but yeah, I definitely have been there in those interviews, and you're like, hey, I don't know it, but I'll figure it out. Like, yeah, I got it. I'm good to go. I can see how easily that can run. And the next thing you know, a week later, you got to hit it on a run. So anyways, you got chewed out for the first time as a coach. You learned Visio. What other good things did you learn? Yeah, because this profession is such a crazy deal where it's like some of these jobs just in terms of title aren't created equal. Like, a GA at a Division II school, you're going to have your own room. You're going to recruit. You're going to get in a car. You're going to drive into high schools and grab transcripts. You're going to do all this. But obviously a GA at the FBS level, you can't do some of those things, but you grow in so many other areas where you're going to sit down and learn Visio. You're going to, you're going to be responsible for a bunch of stuff behind the scenes. What was that GA experience like at Buffalo?
It taught me hard work. It taught me scheme and recruiting. Coach Linguist came from the Cowboys, and he got the stint being a DC for a cup of coffee at Michigan. So him coming in and being a head coach, but also being hands-on with the DBs and just learning. Like, he'll come in our D staff room, and he'll start drawing on the board. And like I said, I'm a sponge. I'm just learning, like, wow, like this, it makes sense. Also, like I say, he was a workhorse. So early mornings, late nights, sleeping in the office, grinding, like a true grind. That's how I learned how to work extremely hard. Because, when you're D3, you wake up and you go in there at 5 a.m., you're doing your own thing. Mm-hmm. When you're a GA at FBS level, you wake up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., you better make sure you're doing your coach's thing, what he wants you to do.
That's right.
And you catch a rhythm with your position coach on what he wants and when he wants and when he gets in and what's his mannerism as he gets in. Like, does he, this might sound crazy, but it's for your coach. Does he want coffee in the morning? Is he a coffee guy? You got to make him some coffee. Does he like candy? So just being attentive to another person and not just yourself. Like I said, I was never really a GA. Never had that experience. Even at Midwestern, you're still your position coach. So just learning how to work under somebody and, getting along with them, because you might have different, philosophies that you want to talk to the kids about, but it's not your room. Yeah. So just learning how to take a step back and learn from somebody else. That was a big adjustment, but like I said, me and Coach Ojon just talked this morning. We're cool to this day. And like I said, the recruiting aspect, Coach Mo was a beast. I think the 3 years he was there, they had the best recruiting class in the MAC. Especially when we was there, we was grabbing P5 transfers. Kids didn't know, like, other people say, how is that happening? Well, Coach Mo has a very unique way of recruiting. Obviously you got to find a trophy figure and things of that nature, but I'm not gonna give all his sauce. But he taught me how to go get kids and come to Buffalo. So I was like, if kids come here to Buffalo, it's cold. They come from Florida, want to come to Buffalo. They're transferring from Notre Dame, wanting to come to Buffalo. So whatever his blueprint was or what it is, I took it to every other school I've been at where I'm a full-time coach. And the proof is in the pudding, it works. And so those 4 things: hard work, recruiting, and just learning how to work under somebody. And, biting your tongue if you don't agree with it, you better agree with it and coach it just with the same intensity that your position coach is coaching with.
Yeah. And if you disagree with it, you can fix it whenever you get your own job, right? But yeah, that's not the place. That's not the place for it. Yeah. So I want to put a quick pause. We got a couple more questions here, but putting a quick pause because moving forward, you just kind of get some better and better jobs all the way to your current position and more full time and more pay, all the kind of stuff that comes with it. So at this point in time, you've GA'd a couple times, you've restricted earnings a couple times, you even kind of ran the whole back end and co-DC'd that thing. What stop? And I'm gonna lock you into. I want one answer. Obviously, you learned, like you said, you pinpointed 4 things from Buffalo. I'm sure you can pinpoint some other things from everywhere else. But when you look back at it, what was that place like? Oh man, this is where I became Coach Napoleon. Right here was this. Stop it. For these 3 months or with this 1 year, this was the biggest leap I made in the profession.
Might sound crazy because it's a little bit further in my profession, but last year at Rhode Island.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, having the whole, like I said, whole back end again, having the nickels. Well, this time was the nickels, the safeties, and the corners. But that scheme came from Jack Cooper, who's at Wisconsin right now as a senior analyst. He was at Central Florida. That scheme is nuts. But that's why I really got a chance to, like I said, I learned from Buffalo and I got a chance to now go to Sacred Heart and play coach corners. We used to play man, so you're coaching technique. But now having a whole back end 22 guys in your room is FCS big time CAA football, and the scheme, things change. We adjust things and on the fly, like motion can adjust your whole coverage. You have to be on point. That stop there taught me everything, and getting the chance to, like I said, bring in recruiting into that as well. But Rhode Island was probably the stop where I was like, I can really do this at a very high level. That's when like it clicked. Like this is it. It was really about the scheme. Everything's about scheme to me. Schemes and rule football, playing off your numbers and different coverages and things of that nature. That all came from Rhode Island. Like a lot of things I talk about now, innuendos, little segues I go in, is all from Rhode Island. So definitely give a big shout out to them for that. Coach Laurenti for taking the chance to hire me there.
That's awesome, man. And so I expected for it to be prior to, but that's awesome that, I mean, even that close to your current job, you're still trying to learn, still trying to grow, and still seeking that knowledge so you can be as good as you can be. After your time at Buffalo, to catch us up here to this Rhode Island position, you took a brief stint there at Sacred Heart. I'm assuming you didn't get your master's degree. I'm assuming you didn't finish your full stint there as a GA there at Buffalo. What prompted you to get out? Were you planning to get out? What was that situation like to transition?
The transition wasn't on me. I got let go at Buffalo. Defense weren't too good, so a couple of us got let go. Went to the AFCA convention, got with Coach Cook, who was DC at Sacred Heart. I knew Coach Barnes, who's now at James Madison. He was the Nichols coach at Sacred Heart. And I got cool with Coach Duke, who's now the quarterback coach at Sacred Heart. I actually interviewed Coach Duke when I was at Susquehanna. So now he had the chance when the Sacred Heart corners job opened up. He told the head coach, Coach Nofri, like, I got a dynamite coach. He's over at Buffalo. Man, they took a chance. I had to drive up from Buffalo. Like I said, I was fired at the time. So I drove up from Buffalo. It was like a 7-hour drive all the way up to Connecticut, stay in the hotel for a night, ripped the interview, drove back up to Buffalo and got the call about a week later. I had the job. Like I said, I've been unemployed for about 3 months at that time. So I was already hungry. Drove down the next day and I was unpaid through spring ball. Like they told me, you come after spring ball because your pay won't start till here. And I was just ready to get around ball. So put myself in a hotel for about a month. And like I said, God's good. I got a chance to take that job just off the blessings of, like I said, the convention and prior relationships and knowing people. It goes all the way back to Susquehanna. So, like I said, God puts us all in places and people in your life for future endeavors or even just for that moment right there. So, interviewing Coach Duke at Susquehanna in 2019 helped me get a job in 2022 at a D1 FCS. So that was my first FCS, like I said, full-time gig. And from there, just went on and I can't thank them enough for that. Yeah. So I always call them back and thank them. Like that's your first, breakthrough. So
yeah.
Kind of get kind of emotional talking about that.
Good, man. I mean, that's one of the things I think in this profession, unfortunately, it just moves so fast. It's tough to really get emotional about anything because it's just a kind of a snowball, just always moving. But one thing I do love, especially from a young coach, man, you just we got fired and blah blah blah. This will happen. Let's talk about that. You got let go. I mean, you talk about emotional. I've been there before. Our staff got let go. Man, that was the longest 2 to 3 months of my life. Trying to figure out what was next. Worry. Hey man, am I going to stay in this profession? I got to provide. I got a wife. What were some of the things as a young guy going through that for the first time that, especially with it kind of been elongated in the 3-month frame? Like what was going through your mind as you were going through that process?
Oh, I was pissed. In terms of pissed not at the coaches for letting me go, myself for not taking the opportunity and running with it because obviously they saw something in me that wasn't good enough. So what I do, I got on the Zooms, started getting better at what I can do, got way better at Visio, and that's where I got in contact with Coach Nardo, who's the DC at Oklahoma State. Like he's one of my mentors now because at the time he was let go from Youngstown State. Yeah. So he's both in the same position. Crying it out, talking to each other. And he's one of the people who, like I said, we talk every morning till this day. And he really helped me through the process. Like, yeah, I was very emotional. Because I had a newborn still. He was 1 year old at the time. So I jumped around from school to school. He was one and I wasn't making a lot of money at Buffalo. Like, you're a GA in the MAC.
Yeah.
You're not making nothing more money. So now I don't have any money coming in, no income. My wife got a job, and I'm a stay-at-home dad and trying to learn ball with the newborn, and my wife's working. But like I said, 3 months of that, I learned a lot of ball from Coach Nardo and got a chance to cultivate that relationship. And, hopefully in the future that helps. But the ups and downs of that, you go day by day. Just wonder if somebody's going to call. You go through a bunch of interviews.
Yeah.
You go on D3 interviews, D2 interviews. And it's almost like I said, when you don't do a good job somewhere and people call and they don't have a good thing to say, or maybe it's a little bit shaky, you're not going to get that job unless you have a real personal relationship. So I was able, like I said, to be blessed to know somebody at Sacred Heart to give me opportunity to take a chance, even if there was negative reviews or anything like that. Take the chance, and that's why, like I said, I'm so thankful for them because they hired me off of me just being fired.
Yeah,
it worked out for both of us. So
yeah, that's awesome, man. I appreciate you sharing that. I know sometimes you go through that process of getting fired, and the AFCA convention's coming up, and I'm gonna walk out of here with the job, and all of a sudden the next thing you know, it's the middle of February, and you're like, okay, people about to start spring ball, and how quickly that can kind of go and get you worried. And Nardo was a great friend of mine, man. He was a old 35 on 35 guy, and so me and him were able to connect. And I remember we had some great conversations during that time for him after Youngstown State, where he was emotional and trying to figure everything out, man. And I couldn't be more proud of him and how everything has played out. Now, so you get there at Sacred Heart. You talk a little bit about your time there at Rhode Island and your ability to grow. Now you just enter. You're 6 games into your stint at Jacksonville State. I gotta stop saying Jackson State. My bad. At Jacksonville State. How did that opportunity arise? How did the road, just connect the dots there from Rhode Island and Jacksonville State?
Well, it goes all the way back to 1987. Coach Rich Rodriguez was the GA at West Virginia. My dad was the running back, so they know each other all that time. It also goes back to when I got out of high school. Coach Rich Rod recruited me when I was coming out. He was at Arizona. Coach Kirkland, the linebackers coach here, recruited me when he was at West Virginia. The quarterbacks coach, offensive coordinator, Coach Smith, recruited me, and I was actually about to commit to him when he was at Indiana. So when the job arose, it was easy as me texting Coach Rich Rod saying, I'm interested. And you blessed me with the opportunity to do skills and drills at the AFCA last year. And they cut it up. I don't know if you remember, they cut up my video in the beginning. It says, I see you, Coach. Coach Rodriguez was sitting there with the chief of staff and a couple of the other Jacksonville State members. And people don't know, like, that was my interview. So that platform of doing skills and drills propelled me for this job. Like, obviously, he knew me as being Eugene Napoleon's son, and probably never even checked on me as a coach, just knew I was coming from good stock and being a good person. But him being able to see my coaching ability through just in person, talking to everybody, not being nervous, and teaching people different techniques and skills and drills. And then obviously going out to lunch with him and, the chief of staff after that, being able to connect again. And it was, I got hired 3 days after the convention.
Dang.
So that's 2 times at the convention, got hired from the convention.
All right, well, so I should be getting a commission check here soon or something, huh?
Maybe one more, maybe the next one. Hey, you gotta give me a platform again. You on a roll? I gotta get a platform. We can do it.
I'm just no. That's awesome here, man. That's about probably in the last year. That's probably about the 4th or 5th time it's been an opportunity for a guy to speak, and their next head coach is in that room. So obviously I'm totally joking with that, man. I'm happy that opportunity worked out for you like that. I know you've been passionate about wanting to get up there and speak, man. So I didn't know that's how those dots end up connecting. So even if it's indirectly a little bit a part of that process, man, that's awesome. Congratulations to that. Sure. Now let's soak it all in. You went from bouncing around making $7,500 a year, excuse me, not a month, a year, multiple jobs, GA, and got hired, got fired, had to learn Visio, which is all these different things that kind of happen throughout the course of most people's profession, where they have to go through some of these trials and tribulations. And now you sit here as an FBS coach and You still got some growing to do, I would assume. Just knowing the type of person that you are, you still got some opportunities that are ahead of you. What do you look back on your career as a very young coach, and what do you say to yourself?
God is good.
Yeah.
Like that's really it. Because, like you say, I can remember in Buffalo being fired and holding my son and like crying. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that I never want to feel that feeling again. So that's why I work hard, try to get things done, because I don't think people know. Like, they say you're gonna get fired once in this profession, everybody gets fired. You really don't think that's gonna happen until it happens to you.
Until it happens, yeah.
So hopefully my one time and my only time is done. But looking all back on it, it's just like, God is amazing. Going for 4 different colleges, and like I said, I'm from Jersey. I have tough skins. People say, "Oh, you went for P40 in the I don't care. I got my degree." Going from the bottom, from D3 all the way up to right now in Conference USA. There's always beating the odds and betting on yourself. But also, while you're betting on yourself, you're not too arrogant or too cocky or think it's too good to keep learning and keep trying to be the best of what you can be. But also keep it the main thing, and that's helping these kids. Like that's why I do it. If people ask me, do you want to go coach the NFL? So that would be great to learn, because that's part of the game is learning. But I'm not. I want to affect these 18 to 22-year-olds and get them ready to go to the NFL, get them ready to be fathers.
Yeah.
So those guys in the league, they already are pros, and they already are probably fathers or got things going on. But these young men need all the love they can get in this society. So just trying to be there for these guys. And like I said, looking back on this, God is amazing, man.
Yeah, man. And the best is yet to come for you, brother. I'm appreciative of this hour, especially in the middle of the bye week. I know we've been wanting to get this done, man. So I appreciate you finding some time for me, man. And definitely look forward to doing more with you. Hopefully get you up on the stage a few more times down the road, and and kind of keep this train rolling, man. But best of luck to you in the middle of the season. Before I let you go here, man, I do want to give you the opportunity to drop your social media so people can keep up with your journey, man. It's been amazing, and I'm sure people want to ask questions.
Well, my Twitter is just simple. It's Coach Napoleon. Don't spell Napoleon with an A. It's Napoleon. All right. If you want to follow my IG, it's Coach Napoleon 3. So that's my Instagram is Coach Napoleon 3, and my Twitter is Coach Napoleon. But Mario, I appreciate you for this opportunity for sure.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And we'll make sure to link that in the show notes to make it easy for people to find you, man. And until I see you here in Charlotte in a few months, man, best of luck to you. Be rooting you guys on, be rooting you on, okay?
All right, appreciate you.
All right, brother. Best of luck.
Yes, sir.
CoachComm has been delivering tough headsets for tough teams for more than 31 years. It's why 97% of FBS teams and thousands of high schools across the country rely on CoachComm. Get the best for your team. Visit CoachComm.com for more info.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Inside the Headset, presented by CoachComm. If you'd like to learn more about this week's episode, head over to AFCA.com. There, you can access every episode and find corresponding show notes. Remember, you can catch every episode of Inside the Headset presented by CoachComm on wherever you get your podcasts, including Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. While you're there, we'd love for you to take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Your feedback helps us improve and grow. Keep up with the latest news by following us on social media. Connect with us at Inside the Headset, and remember to tag us when you share your favorite episodes. For more updates on all things AFCA, be sure to follow the @WeAreAFCA social media accounts. If you're not a part of the AFCA community yet, visit AFCA.com to join thousands of NFL, college, and high school coaches nationwide and across the globe. Elevate your coaching game with an AFCA membership. You'll gain exclusive access to the annual AFCA convention, magazine, digital library, and AFCA Insider email. Stay up to date with the latest stories and news on the AFCA website. More than just a convention, the AFCA offers continuous education, guidance, networking, and more. Celebrate the past and shape the future with the AFCA. It's about fostering exceptional coaches who create outstanding teams and even better individuals. Invest in your skills and make a lasting impact today by engaging with the AFCA. Your journey starts here.